good morning, Ujwal. So today we would like to discuss with you the important topic, which is the TCCPR. So recently we have seen that the second amendment of the TCCPR has been released by TRI. So how would you see that, and can you explain brief more about TCCPR and its second amendment?
Okay. TCCPR is the short form for Telecom Commercial Customer Communication Preferences Regulation. This is essentially protecting the interest of customers, that their privacy should be kept, they should not be called time and time again, right? And this is also being added with a lot of fraud calling that is happening these days, right? So, how do we reduce the fraud that comes into the communication network, where people tend to showcase that, look, I belong to some particular organization, right? We've heard of a lot of these fraud cases. So ensuring that customers are called only with their consent, they are not spammed with autocalls, and ensuring that the security or the network is secure enough for people not to be taken on for frauds.
Right.
Now, TCCPR 2018 is the third regulation which came out. The first one came out around 2008-9. Second one, again TCCPR, came around in 2012. Right? And as the telecom networks increased, as the number of operators in the market, as the number of mobile phones increased in the market, this kept increasing. So in TCCPR 2012, what the government had done was the government used to share the database with the telemarketers, telling them to be self-responsible. Then there came cases where people were actually using that database itself to start calling from. So the government said, no, we limit this database. So there are quite a few thought processes around that. What is happening is so in TCCPR second amendment, the focus is more on ensuring that the fraud calls go down, so there is non-reputability of calls, which is, I know a call is coming from whom, right? So the government has said that 1400, which was the promotional calls, for service and transactional calls, right, you will use the 1600 series.
Yes.
Right? Now, there is this deadline of 31st March which has come in where there's a lot of conversation happening. What happens on 1st April? This deadline of 31st March that has come in on this regulation is essentially an RBI notification, where RBI came in on 17th January and told banks that, look, all service and transactional calls from the banks should happen from 1600 circuits.
Okay.
Now, banks also use a lot of service providers like ourselves, people who are either VNOs or audio text audio conferencing licensees, to make robocalls, to make service calls. The job of the bank is to run the bank. Automation, technology is not their core business, and that is why this entire ecosystem exists. So it's with amazing alacrity that the TRAI came out with further clarification just yesterday, which is 20th of March, and mentioned that, look, the PETM chain and this value addition of these service providers in the market is recognized.
Yes.
And therefore, these providers like ourselves can actually be able to procure these 1600 chain, as long as they ensure that the telemarketers, the access providers, are kept informed of this. Right? So this is where the question comes in. Obviously, there are some challenges. For example, there is a question mark which comes in for banks where collections is concerned.
Yes.
Right? Collections is a very different ballgame altogether. Right? It's not just about collecting money. So, can the customer use these circuits for reverse profiling? By using 1600, if I really want to break the system, I'll start blocking the bank. Right?
Yes.
How does that impact the bank's credit worthiness? Ultimately, it's people like you and me in the retail market who also invest in the bank.
Yes.
Right? Will it therefore lead to a reduction in FD rates? We don't know, because obviously the bank will have to account for, maybe it could lead to greater NPAs. But these are all questions which I believe everyone is aware of.
Yes.
And I also believe that the regulators, the RBI, the TRAI acknowledge these concerns, right? But also in parallel, they have to weigh against the fraud that happens. These are times which are changing, and I think what will come through in a period of time is that these things will settle in. We will find a good ecosystem. Ultimate objective of any of these systems should be that, look, people who want to be regulated, people who are working within the boundaries should be able to work well.
True.
And the ecosystem in itself should be able to remove the people who are trying to misuse the freedom that is available.
Yes.
That, I think, as time and sector will evolve, these are changes which will come into this process. And
Yes.
I think what is very important is to keep following, keep discussing with the regulators. It could be RBI, it could be TRAI, and they are fairly forthcoming. Right? I would not even say fairly. I would say actually they're forthcoming, where these industry questions are concerned.
Yes.
They have their concern about certain things, which is very valid.
Yes.
But they also believe that the economy has to grow with things. So it's good times to be able to understand how and navigate this system, which we are always keen to do, as we understand how to well navigate the system.
Yes. No, thanks for this insight. The only one aspect that would like to understand from you is that how enterprise is going to leverage it within the periphery and the boundary of this TCCPR. And I'm sure since RBI has introduced a lot of new things right now, so must be very valuable for enterprises as well to honor and support this initiative.
Yes. So I think what is important is to work along, be prepared for the changes that are coming in. At the same point of time, keep engaging with the regulators, right, with the government agencies. This is what public-private partnership in the true sense is.
Yes.
Yes. And be able to come out with solutions. So this is the first step right now in the banking and financial services industry, especially in the banking industry, all those agencies which are regulated by RBI. And I'm sure RBI is also watching this very carefully.
True. And we also believe that TCCPR evolution is on the right path and will benefit enterprise as well as the customer or the end user and the entire ecosystem as a service provider as well.
That's true. The controls have to exist. There will be controls.
Yes.
Without controls, it leads to anarchy. Right? But at the same point of time, it's not just these telecom channels like ours which are used.
Yes.
Right? Hours by hours, I mean the telecom channels provided by the telecom operators and access service providers. But also at the same point of time, these are there are also a lot of OTT channels. How do we look at OTT and the fraud that happens through
Yes.
OTT? How does that get prevented?
True.
That's a significantly large challenge, which again there is a lot of thought happening around that. There is a lot of debate and discussion happening about that. I think things will evolve. It's a constant evolution. Little did we know that 8 out of every 10 Indians in a matter of 10 years will
Yes.
start having so many mobile phones.
Yes.
Little did we know that our mobile phones today would have greater computing power than the personal computers that you and I grew up with.
Very true. Very true. And it's growing, right? With the Indian population, the usage of the mobile phone is growing. So this regulation certainly should be there, should be valuable, and should
Yes.
support
It's
this entire
fast
ecosystem
changing.
in a balanced way.
It's fast changing.
Yes.
Right? It's not like infrastructure which needs to take time. The moment that infrastructure is laid up, applications can be very rapidly developed.
Yes.
So how do we keep up pace with it?
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks for your time and thanks for this insight. I'm sure very valuable and will be beneficial to everyone who is covered under the TCCPR umbrella.
Thank you. Yes.